Hi there, students. Debouch. I've heard most people say this debouch, but for me it's debouche. It comes from the French word déboucher, from la bouche, the mouth. And to debouche means to move from a very narrow defile or a narrow space into a wide open space. For example, a river. A river might flow down a valley or between the hills and then debouch onto a large plain. Okay, so to debouch. But this also very often with the movement of troops. The troops were walking down the walking across the mountain pass, which debouched into a forest. So to debouch, to move from a narrow place to a wide place, to discharge, to march out into open ground. The troops debouched from the town and lined up in front of the city gates. All rivers debouch into a lake or into the sea, to emerge, to issue. The Mekong River is enormous and it debouches into the Mekong Delta and then finally into the South China Sea. The Amazon debouches into the Atlantic, into the Southern Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so to debouch, to move out into an open space, to come from a narrow concealed place and open out. The guide took us down an alley that debouched into a large open square. It's like an outlet or an exit. The glacier came down the mountain and debouched into the sea, into a larger area. The hikers debouched from the narrow trail. The troops debouched from the forest into the open field. The troops debouched from their barracks and formed ranks. The narrow streets debouched into a large square. The hikers debouched from the dense forest. The soldiers debouched onto the battlefield. Okay, so it's to come from a narrow place and to be discharged into a much larger open area. As I said, this comes from French, déboucher, or you could desbocar in Spanish, spoccare in Italian. So it's an outlet from which the water comes, or a fortress at the end of a defile. To pour forth from a narrow opening, to emerge from a narrow place, to open out into a wider space. So rivers, when they get to the sea, they tend to debouch. They get larger and larger. The Yellow River debouches into the China Sea. And this is, well, it's a debouch is a part of fluvial geography. Yeah, it's where the river comes out. So the soldiers waited to debouch from the forest into the enemy's line of sight. From on top of the hill, you could see where the small tributary debouched into the main river. The train debouched from the tunnel and onto the brightly lit station platform. So to debouch, to come out from an enclosed place into a much wider place. The soldiers, the troops, debouched from the narrow mountain pass into the wide open plain. The tributary debouches into the larger main channel just before the delta. So to emerge, to issue, to go from one place to another. Debouche, this is normally used in a military context or referring to water. But, well, water passing out of the mouth of a river. The Thames debouches at Gravesend. It debouches into the sea. This is a pretty formal word. To debouche, well, or as they also say, to debouch. That reminds me of debauch, and to debauch, to get drunk and party all the time, but completely different meaning. Anyway, to debouche, formality, 7.5, 8.5, 7.5 in formality, using a semi-formal conversation or something more formal. Semi-formal writing, better semi-formal writing or something more formal. Anyway, debouche, debouch. Bye for now.